Hello, and welcome to the Migraine Oasis podcast, where we'll help you achieve more pain-free days by tackling the root causes that keep you stuck in the pain cycle. Our goal is to help you heal from the inside out for sustainable results. We'll cover everything you need for a holistic and mind-body approach to healing. From understanding how pain works to uncovering areas of tension within the mind, body, and spirit that can trigger your pain, and sharing practical tips to break free and find relief. I'm your host, Karen Ash, a former chronic migraine sufferer, certified coach, patient advocate, and migraine mentor here to support your healing journey. If you're ready to change your relationship with migraine and get back to living, let's dive in. Hello and welcome back. So I know I have not had an episode in the last few weeks, and I wanted to explain what's been going on within the last week anyway, of a medical emergency out of the blue that I just had, and how the mind-body healing approach can work for us no matter what type of thing we're in, whether it's chronic pain and symptoms, whether it's just day-to-day life stress, whether it's in an emergency situation, just to have some of these tools and to understand what to do or why your body is reacting in certain ways. Even as much information as I know about all these things, I still was like, why am I crying all the time? Why is my body shaking? Why am I so cold? Why am I I just was questioning everything about my body, and it was doing what it does best. It was trying to protect me. I'll kind of go through briefly what happened and then go into a couple lessons learned for preparedness and just some things that I hadn't thought of. I mean, we don't think of these things, right? We don't think that we're going to be laying on the floor and unable to get to our phone. And who thinks of that, right? Or in hindsight, looking back, I'm so glad I did certain things and I wish I had done other things. Kind of like a cautionary tale. And I hope it helps somebody out there. So the first thing is, what happened? I thought that I had a minor bladder infection. And it turned out to be something totally different with nearly identical symptoms. And that's one of the things that I want to raise awareness. So I had abdominal cramping, lower belly pain, urinary pressure, that kind of thing for a couple days. And a week ago at this time, and I wrote to my OBGYN before I went to bed. And I said, listen, I've got a high fever. I definitely need to get in to an appointment and get some antibiotic because I've got a UTI for sure. But what happened is by early morning, I had gotten up several times to go to the bathroom. And then at around 6 o'clock, I was hit with this extreme abdominal pain. And I got up, and the next thing you know, I was on the floor. I had fainted and hit my head on the tub as I went down and was just kind of dazed and confused, as you can imagine. And I probably, in hindsight, got up too fast and didn't know that my blood pressure had dropped and was just, very disoriented. Walked out into the hallway and fell again. This time, I guess I fell into the wall, which braced myself, thankfully, because think about when you're in a standing position and you faint, you're not bracing yourself, right? So I would have just hit directly onto the tile floor. But luckily, I hit into the wall, it looks like, because my elbow is all banged up. My cheek is all black and blue. My knee, all this other stuff. So anyway, I'm on the floor trying to figure out how am I going to get to the phone? What is happening? I knew I was losing consciousness because I kept ending up on the floor. What the hell is going on? And anyway, long story short, I was able to get to the phone and able to call emergency services, and ambulance came. I was able to, by that point, I don't know, by miracle, I don't know what happened, was able to stand, get the door open, and even able to get my insurance card and some other things together. So it was quite weird. By the time emergency came, I was able to go down in the elevator standing with them. And then anyway, by 6:30 in the morning, I was in the ER laying in the hospital bed, and the biomedical machine sprang into action, which I've never been so relieved to get scanned and poked and prodded and blood drawn and CT scans and stitches in my head and all kinds of things. And all these tests were coming back and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I didn't have a UTI. There was no bacteria. but the blood work was showing inflammation. So they were still concerned, like, there's something going on, but we just can't find it. So they said, yeah, we want you to be admitted overnight just for some observation. So the medical team upstairs, once I got checked in, they made a call to order a second CT scan of my abdomen and my colon. I was having a little bit of cramping still, and I was saying, something's not right in that region. So they did the CT scan and it came back as diverticulitis, which is an infection of the colon. And ironically, my mother had a problem with this ages ago. And I honestly thought it was kind of like a older person problem and never really even considered it. But I was able to get on IV antibiotics and started to feel better and stayed in the hospital for a couple nights. So, in this second part of this episode, I just want to go into a few practical lessons of being prepared for an emergency, which we don't really think about. If you live alone, which I do, this was the most scary part, that I just was alone. I was on the floor. Could I get to the phone? What's going to happen if nobody finds me? What's going to happen to my dog? Like, there was all these things. So, yeah. So the first one is, it's going to depend on what country you live in, but don't leave your key, your house key, in the lock inside your door. So, how it works in Europe, and I know it's a little bit different in the US, but in Europe, our style lock is a key in and a key out. So, you need a key to get in, you come in the front door, and then you use that same key to lock it behind you. And what I do is I keep the key in the lock because it's just easier. I know where it's at. Days later, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I had the key in the door and nobody would have been able to come in from the other side. They would have had to knock the door down. Anyway, it's just one thing to note, that if you have a locking system where you lock it from the inside, to be careful what you do with that key and the implications of if somebody can't get in from the outside. Now, for burglary, or if you're in a dangerous, environment, like maybe that's a tactic that you're using. But just think about, in an emergency, like, especially if you're collapsed and you can't get to the door, how could somebody get into you? So that's just one aspect. The other thing was having a key hidden outside or with a friend or a neighbor. Everybody maybe already has done that. But when I left in the ambulance, I purposely left the front door and unlocked because I wasn't sure how somebody would get in to care for my dog and I didn't know how long I'd be gone. So that was a big panic for me. Yeah, and I have a lockbox outside. So I was able to, once I came to a less frantic state, be able to think clearly and figure out how somebody would be able to get in. But just having a key hidden outside or a system in place where somebody knows how to get into your house in the event that you need to go off quickly and somebody can come and assist you. The next one is keeping your phone charged and in the same location. Oh my goodness. You don't know how many times I don't charge my phone at night. I don't know why I do that. Really, I have a bad habit of just leaving it on the side of my bed and just like, yeah, I'll just charge it in the morning. No big deal. I work from home. It doesn't really matter too much. Well, I realized it does matter because, first of all, emergencies never schedule themselves for convenient times. We're never going to know when something may happen. And having that phone, well, first of all, in that same location, I knew exactly where it was. I was struggling to figure out how I was going to get to it, but I knew where it was. So that was clear. And I was very disoriented. So that part was good. Secondly, having it fully charged was, oh, that was a lifesaver because I needed to tell people where I was. I needed to make arrangements, like I said, about the dog. So all these different things once I got to the hospital. So it's just, yeah, a reminder to make sure you keep the phone charged. And even if there was a situation where there's, God forbid, a car accident or some kind of other type of accident, or you fall down when you're walking or something happens. I mean, you just never know, right? A bike thing, just having a charged phone so that you can call for help or call once you get to the hospital and get settled, I think is important. The other one is storing emergency contacts in your phone. Do you guys all have that? I mean, you might think, okay, I'm in the US, 911. Everybody knows 911. No big deal. Even if I'm in a panic situation, I'm going to remember 911. And maybe not. I don't know. The other thing is, in case you travel, or if you're an expat in a foreign country, like I'm American in Switzerland, 144 was just not on my radar at all of what the emergency number was. I have a piece of paper in my kitchen that has it on there. There was no way I could get to the kitchen. I was barely able to get to the phone in my room, but had I had to then go walk into the kitchen and yeah, it would not, I don't know what I would have done really. I had it luckily in the phone, but I had a lot of things. I had like poison control and emergency and the police. I had all the numbers just under emergency. So in my disoriented state, I got all confused and I called poison control first. And then they had to steer me back to the ambulance. So that wasted some time. So just a heads up on that to just have it really clearly marked in your phone. I mean, most phones allow you to put in like an in case of emergency contact and it can pop up and they can access that even if your phone is locked. So you might want to check that and make sure that's in place. I just put that all in place for my parents. Yeah, I wanted to make sure in case something happened with them. And at the same time, I did it for myself. So thankfully, I have done that, but that's just not something as a younger person we really think about, I don't think. I don't know. I didn't anyway. The next one is carrying your insurance card or health information. And we have small cards over here, like listing your medicines or vaccines and any allergies to medication to help medical staff if you're unable to speak. Or like me, I forgot when I had my last tetanus shot. I didn't have my cards on me. I didn't have my health information. So that was something that came up. I ended up getting a tetanus shot when I'm not even sure if I actually needed it. The next one is to consider a mini emergency kit. And I'm not saying like go overboard and all these things, by the way. I don't mean to scare you or think like, oh no, yeah, I need to get all my affairs in order. It's not that. I think it's important to just note because it's stuff that I just didn't think of. And I could have made it easier for myself, maybe, or all the little things that I had in place just made it a lot easier for me. So it's just a word of advice, but it also always goes with the energy that you're doing it. So if you go into the preparing and being hyper vigilant, like, oh no, I hope I don't have an emergency now, and oh no, what if that does happen to me and I live alone and like stressing about that, that's not what I want to convey here. It's just to help you feel more prepared and more secure that if anything did happen, that you would be prepared. That's all I'm trying to get across. So I hope that is helpful and not, concerning you too much. So back to, sorry, so I got sidetracked there. The mini emergency kit, just like even if it's a small envelope with copies of your ID or your insurance card or this medical list that I was talking about, or if you have like a do not resuscitate or different things like that, you can have it just like in one spot. A file of life is something that I actually created for my parents, and it was on recommendation after my father had some heart issues. And I was going back to Switzerland, and they were going to be in Florida, and it was just a concern. If he does have to call the ambulance, in US, apparently, there's a thing where the emergency workers will look on the refrigerator, especially in an elderly person's home. They look for this paperwork and it's a thing. It's called a file of life and it has everything in one place on one form, emergency contacts, the medicines you're on, your medical power of attorney, doctor's name, insurance information, all these different things. And it would be all in one place, which is good. There's two last things I wanted to talk about. One was, are your affairs in order? And as I was laying on the floor for that second time, I was thinking, nobody's going to find me. What's going to happen to the dog? Like all these different things are going through my head. And afterwards, those were my main concern. Ironically, I never feared dying. It was just that I was not going to be found. That was the concern. And the dog, of course. But way later, as I was safe and I was, starting to think back like what had just happened and, the trauma of it all, I thought I am completely unorganized in my affairs as far as if my sister or my niece or somebody had to come over, if something actually did happen to me and I wasn't around. I was like, how would they know where my bank accounts are and my passcodes and where I have my mortgage and who my doctors are? Like all these things. I thought, yeah, I am definitely not very organized. How to keep my business running, all these different things. Especially once I have my course up and running, I want to make sure that somebody knows how to keep that running. So now I'm making a document and having all these things, and I'm heading back to the US in a week actually from now, and I'm going to review that with my sister and have it in a place that she knows where to get it. even thinking about, do you have a will? Do you have beneficiaries on your bank accounts? One of the things that came up when we were getting my parents situated, as far as my mom has dementia. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, if something happens to her, or when my dad was having those health concerns, it was like, is the money going to be available for the other person, essentially? I had a friend whose father passed away, and the money went into the court system, and the money was frozen, and she didn't have access to the money to pay the mortgage and to pay bills and to do what she needed to do, which was really scary and, sad that she had to wait to be able to have access to the money, even for the funeral. So this was one thing that we really spent a lot of time with my parents, getting both names, getting the POD, pay on death, or TOD, transfer on death, is what that means, I think. And yeah, it's not nice stuff. We don't want to think about this, but just making sure that you are protected and in the case of emergency, that everything's prepared. The things that I grabbed on the way out the door, I don't know how in the chaos I managed to now have energy, able to stand. I was on the phone with the emergency work. So the ambulance is on the way, and he's telling me, open the front door and sit down. And I didn't listen to him. I probably should have, but I was more concerned with, I need to feed the dog. I mean, I can't believe I even thought to do that. I opened the back door in case, nobody could come for hours and she had to go out to the bathroom. I grabbed my insurance card. I grabbed my phone. My glasses happened to be on. They had broken in the fall, but they're essential for reading. So I happened to have them on because I was on the phone trying to find the phone number for emergency. So that was good. I had them with me. I had the forethought of having a little bag too. I just grabbed a bag and I threw all this stuff in there. And then the ambulance came, and then I was able to go off with them. But if you don't live alone, not as critical. If you have friends or family in the area, they'll be coming to help you anyway. My best friend here was not in town. I ended up calling my ex, and he was quick to come help me and bring the phone charger, and just really took such good care of me, came to get the dog. And so everything worked out. And I feel now more prepared if this was to happen again. So yeah, needless to say, this experience shook me to the core and reminded me how fragile things are, and that having a little bit of thought and being prepared can go a long way. Especially, I know a lot of people listening are in chronic pain and have chronic symptoms, and you don't feel well. And if something were to happen, it's like this would be one more thing on top. So it's just to make sure that you're a little bit prepared and that you're in a safe and supported way as you go forward. In the next part, I'm going to talk about things that are a little bit more relevant to our mind-body topics and go into what my nervous system was doing in this full fight or flight mode. I mean, I was in pure survival mode, and how I use these mind-body tools of breathing and distraction and pain reprocessing therapy, and even my old migraine tricks to cope with the pain and the anxiety when all the emotions were running high. So, okay, I will talk to you soon, and be well in the meantime. And thanks for tuning in and listening. And I hope it helps somebody out there. Thanks for tuning in to the Migraine Oasis. I hope today's episode has inspired you to explore new approaches and provide some actionable steps you can use. Check out the show notes for any of the links of resources mentioned. If you found this valuable, please follow and subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others. This greatly helps our algorithm to ensure that this information gets out to more people who can benefit. If you're not already a part of the Migraine Oasis online community, check us out and stay tuned for more support, relief, and healing throughout the week. Until next time, stay hopeful and believe that more pain-free days are in your future. We're honored to support your healing journey. Take care of yourself and be well.